Did you hear about Turkey? Yeah, you're not allowed to call it Turkey anymore. No, the country. Yeah, it's a country in between. It's like half. Some of it's in Europe, some of it's in Asia. So yeah, you have to call it Türkiye. Türkiye. So that first, the U bit, is a bit like in French, you know, like kind of, oh, tu m'as vu hier dans la rue? Bah non, je t'ai pas vu, hein. So it's not as French as that. It's kind of not full blown U, but more kind of Türkiye, kind of relaxed, not so ooey. The problem is we don't really have it in English. So how we're supposed to say that? It's not an English sound. So what do you do? One thing I thought of was, you know how people sometimes do that in the air for quotes. So what we could do is whenever we have to say Türkiye, if we don't know how to say U, you could just go kind of Türkiye. Yeah, where are you going on holiday? Well, I'm going to Türkiye. Yeah. Oh, I like your new sweater. Yeah, it's made in Türkiye actually. Oh, cool. So how this came about was that the Turkish president and populist conservative strongman Recep Tayyip Erdogan decided that he didn't want people to call Turkey Turkey anymore. So he wrote to the United Nations. Now, I don't really know what a Turkish accent sounds like, but it's probably a bit like Welsh. So, there he is. Dear Secretary General of the United Nations, we don't like people calling our country Turkey, so could you make sure from now on everybody calls it Türkiye with an U. Yours, President of Turkey, populist conservative strongman Recep Tayyip Erdogan with a silent G. So it gets to the United Nations, the Secretary General. They've got a letter here. I don't know what Portuguese acts of Secretary General of the UN is Portuguese. I don't know what that sounds like either, but I imagine it's probably Geordie. So there he is. He's like, right. So the Turkish want us to call Turkey Türkiye with an U. And they want us to make sure that in English, French, and German, that's how it's pronounced. But we don't do German, do we? In the UN? No. Well, you'll have to sort it out with the Germans himself. The US State Department, then, I don't know if they got another letter, but they decided that they were going to call it Türkiye as well. So now we all have to. So apparently one of the reasons that Mr. Erdogan didn't like people calling his country Turkey was that it would get confused with the bird, which is in English also called turkey. I mean, how often does that happen? Excuse me, where's this suit made? Oh, Turkey. What? It's made inside a bird? That is so gross. How do they even get it in there? How do they get it out again? Isn't it kind of covered in giblets? That's disgusting. No, so it's the country turkey. Oh, the country. Oh, I didn't know there was a country called Turkey. I just thought it was a bird or a town in Texas. Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, they should call the country something else, then there wouldn't be the confusion. Actually, it's interesting how the bird got to be called a turkey. So originally, there were these birds from I think the west coast of Africa, the ones we currently call guinea fowl. And they were imported to England and the rest of Europe via Turkey. So they got called turkeys. Then when we fast forward to the European invasion of the Americas, before our great feast of Thanksgiving, we must decide what to call these birds, which the Wampanoag have given to us, and of which we shall partake. Well, the Wampanoag call them Nahom, don't they? But this is America. We must speak English. So, what English name shall we give to these Nahom? They remind me of something from back in England. What are those birds? Are they called Bulgaria? I don't think there are any birds called Bulgaria. You don't mean turkeys, do you? Like the ones we eat at Christmas? We have banned Christmas. We are Puritans and must be puritanical. People were having far too much fun. Ah, yes, fun, I remember that. Yes, I do believe those ones are called turkeys, but they don't look anything like this. Well, they look pretty similar to me. No. They're not as round, and they're much smaller. If only I had Wikipedia, I could show you the difference. Did you say Wikipedia? So Mr. Erdogan doesn't like the fact that in English, and only in English, the bird turkey and the country turkey are called the same thing. Imagine having your country associated with a rather ugly bird with a wobbly bit. Guess what they call turkeys in Turkish? Hindi. And in fact, lots of languages associate turkeys with India. In French, it's a dinde, which used to be a D apostrophe and from India. In Russian, it is, let me check. In Russian, it is an indyuk, also something to do with India. In Polish, it's an indyk. So if we carry this to its logical conclusion, the Prime Minister of India then writes to the United Nations and complains that, his country is associated with ugly birds with wobbly bits, and please could everybody pronounce his country the way they say it there, which is Bharat. And he insists that it be spelt like this. Portuguese for Turkey is Peru. So Peruvians then have to insist on their country changing its name back to what the Incas call it, which was Tawantinsuyu. In Scots, apparently, a turkey is called a bubbly jock. Maybe it'd be better if we just renamed the bird and left turkey as it is. It's interesting that in German, Türkiye is Türkei, and Turkey the bird is Tuthan or Pute, which would get you into trouble in lots of parts of the world. And then I suppose, this use of a country's name for another thing can cause all kinds of confusion. If someone says to you that Hans Christian Andersen and Søren Kierkegaard were Danish, people would think that they were some kind of pastry, so you have to call them dansk. China often gets confused with cups and saucers. People say, I'm going to China. Oh, mind you, don't crack it. So to stop this confusion between China the country and China the cups and saucers, we need to call China the country 中华人民共和国, People's Republic of China. Some countries have an advantage. So, like in French, it's Turquie anyway. You've just got to put like an E accent, Türkiye. I don't know how they're going to say it, probably like that. In Spanish, it's Turquía, so they're just going to have to say Turquía. And then some countries, I don't know if you've ever noticed, that countries with a big kind of brash, a bit loud of a neighbour that has a very similar accent to them that they can't really be distinguished because of, they tend to do two things. They always travel with their flag on their baggage, and they put A at the end of sentences. So you can imagine like Canada and New Zealand. So here we are, Turkey, eh? Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Actually, I think it's called Turkey, eh? Turkey, eh? No, just Turkey, eh? With an U.